grab yourself a coffee and pull up a seat because today I'm teaching you how to play Hell of a Deal from Smirk and Dagger Games. I'm Mark Maya, and this is Board Game Coffee.
Vincent, get back here this instant!
Thank you. Oh, I love you too. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you.
Before we get started, you should know that the components used in this video are of the prototype variety and do not necessarily represent the final look of the game. That said, let's get back to our video. Welcome to the last resort and casino, where winning is your last resort. To reach the big table, you'll take on diabolical bosses like Deadly Allure, Eeny Meeny, Misfortune, and Demona. Each one twisting the game in their own terrible way. If you can survive them, you'll reach the final showdown with the devil himself, and possibly earn your way back to the land of the living. Hell of a Deal is a cooperative poker game against the devil himself and his hellish minions, who cheat a lot. To keep up, you'll have to do a little bit of cheating yourself, but there's a catch. You see, the more you cheat, the closer you'll be to dooming your soul for all eternity. So, there's that. In Hell of a Deal, you're not playing against each other. You're playing together against a lineup of bosses. You still play your own poker hands, but your goal is to beat the boss and help the other players do the same. A single game of Hell of a Deal pits you against 4 bosses, Nicholas House, and the devil himself. Each of these demonic card sharks has a unique special ability that twists the rules to your detriment. When you win a hand, you'll earn souls. When you lose a hand, you'll lose souls and be punished for your poor choices. But lucky for you, cheating is an option. I use the word option, but what I really mean is you'll absolutely need to cheat or your soul will be damned for all eternity. So, FYI. Although if you cheat too much, temptation can bring about your downfall. But if you survive, you and your fellow poker people will move on to the big table, where you'll face off against Nicholas House, the charming owner of the last resort and casino. And if you manage to defeat old Nicky Boy, things get much worse. Because once you beat Nicholas, he transforms into the devil himself. And as misfortune would have it, there are multiple different versions of the devil. And which one you face is chosen at random. And none of them are good for you. Alright, now that you got a rough idea of what kind of hell you're getting yourself into, let's move on to the setup. For this video, we're going to set up for a 2-player game of Hell of a Deal. First, place the community board mats in the center of the table. Next, shuffle the favor cards and place them face down here. Then do the same for the curse cards, shuffling and placing them face down on their designated space. Now, place a temptation token for each player on the 0 space of the temptation track. Once you've done that, take the 4 red Devilish Offering tokens and place 1 on each of these locations, with the use side face down. Next, place 1 yellow soul chip per player into the souls pot of the community board. The remaining soul chips are placed off to the side. You won't need them now, but you will need them later. Take the 52 card playing deck, shuffle it, and place it face down on the red deck space. And place the bones die somewhere in easy reach of all players. Now let's build the boss deck. For our first game, we'll be using Deadly Allure, Eeny Meeny, Misfortune, and Demona. Once you've got them all collected, stack them face down in that order, with Deadly Allure on the top. Then place Nick House at the bottom of the stack. Next, take all the Devil himself cards, shuffle them face down, and without looking, slide 1 randomly underneath the Nick House card that you just placed. The remaining boss cards go back in the box. We won't be using them for your first game. In future games, feel free to include any of these bosses when you're choosing your first 4. Finally, place the completed boss stack onto the space marked with this grinning little demon. Now it's time for the player setup. Each player takes a player mat and places it in front of them. The color of your mat should match the temptation token that you placed earlier. Next, grab a set of player chips and place them on the matching symbols on your mat, stacking the 2 Earn a Soul chips like so. Now, deal 1 favor card face down to each player. That player should then read the card, keeping the information to themselves. Finally, give the dealer button to the host, or alternatively, to the person who played poker most recently. That player deals the first hand. Alright, now that we're all set up, let's learn how to play. Hell of a Deal is played in rounds, and in each round, you'll face off against a new boss. Each boss you defeat will bring you 1 step closer to Nick House and the devil himself. During a round, you'll reveal a boss card, resolve curses, deal cards, then you'll play through the 4 phases of betting: the pre-flop, the flop, the turn, and finally the river. Once the betting is done, we move on to the Showdown. This is when everyone reveals their cards and we see who's got the better hands. Now, let's go through each of those steps, starting with revealing the boss. The first thing you're going to do at the start of a round is flip over the top card of the boss deck. Then read the special rules on that boss card out loud. These rules will change how the game is played against this specific boss. In some cases, a boss will have a special setup instruction indicated on their card. When that happens, follow the instructions as soon as the card is turned face up. Boss cards will also indicate a minimum hand. So in this example, the boss is showing a straight. This means, at the very least, that's what you'll need to beat. But more on that later. Once the boss is revealed, the next thing we need to do is resolve our curse cards, if any. As you might have guessed from the name, curse cards are not good, but luckily for you, you don't have to worry about them. Well, not yet anyways. During your first boss encounter, you won't have any curse cards to resolve, so you can just skip this step altogether. But starting with the second boss, if anyone does have any face-down curse cards in front of them, well, bad things are going to happen. Starting with the second boss, if anyone has any face-down curse cards on their mat, flip them face up, read them out loud, and resolve what they do. Some curse cards have effects that last the whole round, like this curse, which doesn't allow you to use any diamond cards from your hand, while others have effects that happen once and they're done. Either way, these curse cards stay face up on your player mat for the rest of the round. And it's important to note that you can only ever have 3 curse cards at a time. That includes face up and face down curse cards combined. If you gain a 4th curse card, don't take it. Instead, suffer 1 temptation for each extra curse that you would have gained. Once you're done resolving curses, it's time to deal some cards. Deal each player 3 cards face down. These are your hole cards. In your typical game of Texas Hold'em, you would only get 2 hole cards. But in Hell of a Deal, you get 1 extra card up your sleeve. Let the cheating begin. Now, this next part is very important. Even though you have 3 cards in hand, you can only ever use 2 of them. The third is just an extra option. If it helps you remember, turn the extra card sideways as a reminder, because someone is bound to forget. It happens. A lot. Not to me, of course, but you know, other people. Once each player has 3 cards, deal 2 cards face down to the boss, unless the boss card says otherwise. Alright, now that everyone has their cards, let's play around. A round is played in clockwise order around the table, starting with the player to the left of the dealer. And in case you forget, the dealer is the player with the dealer button. Each player should complete all their actions before moving on to the next player. Now, I will be going through each step of a round, but before I do, there's something I want to show you. I love when games do this. If you look over here on the community board, it pretty much walks you through each step of a round. The first thing you're going to do is place a bet, then flip 3 cards face up, place another bet, reveal another card, place another bet, reveal your last card, and then place your last bet. It's that kind of hand-holding that I really appreciate. Now, during each of these betting phases, you'll also have the option to fold. If you do decide to fold, place your cards face up in the discard pile. Doing so will sit you out for the rest of the round. This is something you would do if you have a weak hand. No point in continuously placing bets if you feel like you're going to lose anyways. It's a way to cut your losses. So, to clarify, if you fold, you do not move on. Only players who place their bets will move on to the next phase. Now, players experienced with Texas Hold'em will often fold during this pre-flop betting window if their cards don't seem strong enough. But since there's so many ways to cheat in this game, it's almost always better to wait until after the flop to consider folding. Alright, a quick recap. The first thing you're going to do when a round starts is reveal the boss card, then resolve your curse cards, followed by dealing 3 cards to each player and 2 cards to the boss. Once that's done, you'll play through each of the betting phases, starting with the pre-flop. Let's walk it through. After you get your initial 3 cards, look at your hand privately, then in turn order, each player decides whether to bet or fold. To place a bet, take one of the chips, and only one, from the bottom of your player mat and place it in this betting area. What each of these chips do is different, and I'll be covering each of them in detail later in the video. Once everyone's done betting or folding, we move on to the flop. The flop is the part of the game where we reveal the first 3 community cards that we'll be working with. The first thing you're going to do before revealing anything is burn 1 card by discarding it face up into the discard pile. Then deal 3 community cards face up to the flop spaces. Once that's done, everyone, in turn order, will get another chance to bet and continue on to the next phase, or fold and drop out for the round. Once everyone's done whatever it is they're going to do, we move on to the turn. During the turn, you'll burn 1 card face up and deal another to the turn space, followed once again by the option to bet or fold. After that, we move on to the river. The river is the last community card played for the round, and just like before, you'll burn a card face up and deal the next card to the river space. Then, for the last time this round, each player will get the option to bet or fold. Now, at this point of the game, anyone who hasn't folded moves on to the Showdown. The Showdown is where players and the boss reveal their cards to make the best possible scoring hand, starting with the players. In turn order, each remaining player selects 1 or 2 cards from their hand and up to 4 community cards to create their final scoring hand of 5 cards. The goal here is to create the highest scoring hand possible. And if you need help remembering what beats what, just refer to this rankings chart on your player mat. Once each player figures out what their highest possible poker hand is, it's time to do the same for the boss. The only difference is the boss doesn't play fair. You see, when it comes down to figuring out the highest possible scoring hand for the boss, there are 2 possible options. First, we flip over their 2 cards and try to make the best hand possible by combining them with the community cards, following the same rules as the players. Seems pretty above board, right? Check this out. If the best possible combination of cards that the boss can make ranks lower than the default hand printed on their card, you'll use this printed hand instead. And it's important to note that you do not combine the hand printed on the boss's card with the cards in their hand or the community cards. All they get is what's printed here. Nothing more, nothing less. Alright, now that we've seen what everybody's got, let's compare hands. The first thing you need to know is that each player is comparing their hand against the boss's best hand, not against each other. This means that in the same round, multiple players can win and multiple players can lose. And each of their rewards and punishments is resolved individually. So if your hand is stronger than the boss's, you win. And just to be clear, all the rewards are awarded to the winners before any punishment is dealt to the losers. So, since this player won, they earn a soul for each earn a soul chip that they bet. These soul chips are taken from the pool and added to the community pot. Any other chips that you've played will not earn you souls, or any other rewards for that matter, because any benefits that these chips granted were awarded the instant they were played. We'll go over what all of these chips do later in the video. Seems simple enough. Now, what happens if you lose? Well, the first thing you're going to do when you lose a hand is flip over every chip that you placed in your betting area, and suffer the consequences listed on the back. For each skull you see, you'll suffer 1 temptation point. And for each of these images, you'll draw 1 curse card, placing it face down on your player mat. These curse cards will trigger at the start of the next round. And if that ain't bad enough, each player who lost must also pay souls equal to the number listed on the boss card. In this example, the boss is asking for 2 souls. That means since only 1 player lost, we would remove 2 souls from the community pot and add them back into the pool. And in case you were wondering, losing your soul, well, that's a bad thing. But on the bright side, if you owe more souls than there are in the community pot, there's no additional punishment. Well, not for the first 4 bosses anyways. These guys are way less forgiving. You see, if you can't pay all the souls you owe when you're playing against Nick House or the devil himself, then you lose. Game over. That's it. Now, you're probably asking yourself, but Mark, what if I folded earlier in the round and never made it to the showdown? Well, that counts as losing, which means you suffer the same punishment as all the other losers. And in addition, you get to roll this thing. This is the bones die. The bones die is only ever rolled by the player who folded, and there are 3 possible results. If this symbol comes up, then you suffer 1 temptation. If this symbol comes up, you gain a curse card. But if this symbol comes up, you draw a favor card. I guess it's not all bad news. Now, let's talk about what happens if you tie. If you match the boss's hand in strength, let's say you and the boss each have 2 pairs, then the highest pair wins. If you're still tied, compare the strength of the lower pair. If you're still tied, then compare the kicker. That's just a fancy way of saying the last card you have remaining. Whoever has the highest kicker wins. If you're still tied after that, then it's a push. A push means nothing happens. You don't gain rewards and you don't get punished. But it doesn't count as beating the boss either. Oh, and one more thing. If the boss is using their printed minimum hand, that hand has no kicker. Therefore, kickers don't come into the equation. So if you tie the boss while they're using their printed hand, it's always a push. Now, once we've compared our hands, collected our rewards, or received our punishments, the round is completed, and we'll need to clean up the table and set up for the next boss. Alright, first thing you're going to do during the cleanup phase is discard the boss card. If you just played against one of the first 4 starting bosses, this happens regardless of the round's outcome. This means that even if nobody won, you still discard the boss card and move on to the next. But when you're facing off against Nick House, or the devil himself, you only advance if at least 1 player beats them. In a case where nobody beats Nick or the devil, the boss stays out and you face them again the next round. Next, reset the Devilish Offerings by flipping any used tokens back to their ready side. I know we haven't covered what these do yet, but we will. Any curse cards that were face up and active this round are discarded. Any curse cards that are still face down stay on your mat for the next round. Then return all chips from your betting area to their designated spots on your player mat. Now, pass the dealer button to the player on your left. Lastly, you'll need to gather up all the playing cards and hand them off to the new dealer for them to shuffle them and prepare them for the next round. Okay, up until now, we've gone over when to bet, but not how to bet. It doesn't work like a regular game of Texas Hold'em. You're not betting against each other, and there's no shared pot. You see, in Hell of a Deal, each player has their own betting area on their mat. When it comes time to place a bet, choose one chip from this row here and move it into your betting area. And when I say one chip, I mean just one, no more. Once you place a chip in your betting area, you're committed to the next phase of the round. Now, if you didn't want to bet and decided to fold, discard all your cards face up into the discard pile. This is now open information for everyone at the table. Unlike traditional poker, in Hell of a Deal, the chips you're betting don't have dollar values. Instead, they'll either earn you a soul or grant you different ways to cheat. And they look like this. The front side of each chip shows you its benefit. The back side shows you its punishment. As I mentioned earlier in the video, the punishment side of these chips will either earn you a curse card or cause you to suffer 1 or 2 points of temptation. That pretty much covers all the bad stuff these chips can do. So let's go over all the positive effects they offer, starting with the Earn a Soul chip. First thing you should know is that the Earn a Soul chip is the only chip that doesn't take effect instantly. You only earn its positive effects if you win your hand during the showdown. If you do win, add 1 soul to the communal pot for each Earn a Soul chip that you bet. Now, all the other chips on your player mat are classified as power chips, and the benefits printed on them will take effect as soon as the chip is placed in your betting area. This chip allows you to move any one player token back 1 space on the temptation track. But you can't move someone back past a flame barrier that they've already crossed. Betting this chip allows you to immediately draw the top card of the favor deck and place it face down in front of you. You can hold up to 3 favor cards at a time. If you draw more than that, keep the 3 you like and discard the rest. We'll be covering how these favor cards work a little later in the video. This chip allows you to reveal a total of 2 cards from your hand or favor cards. The cards you reveal are placed face up on your player mat. You're allowed to mix and match favor and whole cards if you want, just never more than 2 total. These cards still count as being part of your hand. They're just public knowledge now. These Devilish Offering chips are probably my favorite to use. They allow you to trigger one of the 4 offerings listed here. Once you place your chip, choose one of the available offerings on the board and flip its token to the used side. Only one player can use each offering per round. So once it's flipped to its used side, that ability is off limits for the rest of the round. Let's take a quick look at what these offerings have to offer. The Reveal a Boss card offering allows you to choose one of the boss's face down cards and turn it face up. This card will stay revealed for the rest of the round. If you use this offering, you'll be able to take any one card from the discard pile and place it face up on your player mat. This card is considered part of your hand. This offering here allows you to look at the top 2 cards from the main deck, keep one, and discard the other face up to the discard pile. And don't forget, no matter how many cards you add to your hand, you could still only use 2 of these. As you might have guessed, the Swap a Card with a Player offering allows you to swap a card with a player. Now, when swapping, each player needs to be a willing participant, and each player selects which card they want to trade. Neither player involved can discuss or imply anything about the unrevealed cards in their hand. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, it's got to be tricky to trade with somebody when you don't know what you're trading for, and you'd be right. But when played in conjunction with a player who's revealed 2 of their cards, you can start to see how the game's systems start to synergize. Oh, and you can also use these offerings to swap for favor cards as well. Lastly, when you bet the wild chip, you can make it a copy of any other chip you want, following all the rules for the chip you copied. The only difference being, because the wild chip is so powerful, you suffer 1 temptation point as soon as you play it. And as an added little pro tip, if you use your wild to copy and earn a soul chip, place it on top like so. This will come in useful when you're collecting rewards at the end of the round. Now, let's quickly talk about temptation. Temptation can be used to power abilities, but left unchecked can cost you the game. The moment a second player reaches 10 temptation, the game ends. This rule applies to all player counts. You gain temptation from losing bets, playing certain favor cards, and some boss abilities will also contribute to moving you up this track. There are ways to heal temptation, but never past a flame barrier that you've already crossed. And 10 is the most temptation any one player can earn. The additional temptation must be divided, however you choose, amongst the other players. Throughout this video, you've heard me refer to favor cards, but what are they? Favor cards are powerful abilities that allow you to cheat. What each favor card does is listed here, and they're all pretty self-explanatory. Favor cards can be played on your turn, but only after you've placed a bet. And you can play as many of them as you want, assuming you can afford to do so. If you don't place a bet, then you cannot play a favor card. The exception to this rule is any card that displays this lightning bolt. These cards can be played anytime, even during another player's turn, assuming that you haven't folded and are still in the game. When you play a favor, follow the text printed on the card, then discard it face up to its own discard pile. Some favor cards will require you to pay a price before you can use them. This price is listed here in the upper right corner, and will either involve you suffering a temptation point or drawing a curse card, or both. And as mentioned before, if you ever find yourself with more than 3 favor cards, discard down until you only have 3 remaining. To win a game of Hell of a Deal, at least one player must win a hand against the devil himself. If that happens, the whole team wins. Sounds simple enough, but as dealings with the devils tend to go, there's a catch. If a situation arises where a player wins a hand, but at the same time triggers a game-losing condition, the win is cancelled. And there are 2 ways to lose. If 2 or more players reach the 10th space on the temptation track, the team loses. This rule applies no matter who you're facing. If the team cannot pay a soul while facing off against Nick House or the devil himself, the team loses. And as a reminder, if you can't pay enough souls to these bosses that came before Nick and the devil, then you don't lose. Just pay what you can and carry on. Now, before we wrap up this video, there's one last rule I'd like to go over that's vital to your experience, and that's communication. As it is with most co-op games, communication is key. But that doesn't mean you can tell everyone at the table what you're holding. You can't say anything that gives away hidden information. That includes the 3 cards you were dealt at the start, and your favorite cards. Also, you can't say things like, I'm 1 card away from a flush. There's no hinting at what you want, and no implying how strong your hand is. Keep communication vague. Say stuff like, feeling good about this one, or waiting on that last card to be played. Now, anything face up on the table is fair game. You can talk openly about revealed cards, the board, and strategy. You can say things like, "We got a possible flush showing on the table." That's fine. But you can't say, "I'm one card away from a straight flush." That is not okay. You can also discuss what the boss might have, as long as you're only discussing what's visible, not anything you privately saw. Lastly, if you're looking for rule clarifications, especially those regarding boss abilities, check out the FAQ in the back of the rulebook. And that's it. I hope this video helps, and I hope you enjoy playing Hell of a Deal. See you next week. Thanks for joining us. If you like this video and you want to see more, subscribe to our channel. It's the best way to keep up to date with everything we do here at Board Game Coffee. But if you want to see more right now, we got plenty of videos to choose from. And if that's not enough, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm Mark Maya, and this is Board Game Coffee. And remember, have fun, keep gaming, be social. See you next week.